Hey, get over here. He's calling all nights.
Oh, jeez. Here come the nerds. It's time to talk to the interested and interesting.
I was wondering when the nerd would come.
And here's your host, Mike Thayer.
Yeah, well, righto there, mate. Well, g'day. Welcome to Calling All Nerds. Gonna talk about the interesting and interested. Alright, back in the saddle after my week-long vacation break down in Provo, Utah for Thanksgiving. That was fantastic. I did not get to do that last year. I was in the middle of a turnaround. So for those of you that don't know, that's when you bring a big portion of a refinery or plant or something down, and it's just 24/7 nonstop fun. So last year I just got Thanksgiving off, and that was it. This year I got a whole week in Utah, which was awesome. I got to go do school presentations at my old elementary school and my wife's old elementary school. That was a lot of fun. My elementary school is in the same location, but it's actually been torn down and rebuilt, which was kind of odd. But they had my old school picture from the 4th grade and 5th grade up there, because I was talking to 4th and 5th graders, and then they had found a story that I wrote, and they put in this big bound book in the 4th grade called The Mystical Ninja. So that was really cool to see. I looked at some of my other friends' stories that were in there. It was an awesome experience. A lot of fun to go back there. I do this thing when I go do school visits where, kids come up and they spin a prize wheel. I pick a couple kids out of the audience, and they either win a free book or free poster, or they can win their name in the next book. I name characters after kids once I get the parents' permission. Anyway, a kid came up, he won that, and then I kind of waited for the email, and the mom emailed him back, and he's the son of one of my brother's good friends, which was kind of odd. I knew I'd run into a bunch of folks like that going back to Provo. I always do. Every time I go to the local grocery store, Days, which is just a couple blocks from my house, I always run into people. I ran into Alex Grow, a buddy I hadn't seen in a long time. Anyway, it was great. I loved being back in Provo. I love going back, and not just with family, but running into old friends and had a great time. So I'm a little bit late this week on the podcast. I apologize for that. I'm going to get back to a more disciplined routine. It's been a mad dash trying to get this book published, and that has been a waking nightmare, as it always is. There are advantages to self-publishing, and then there are disadvantages to self-publishing. And man, this would be nice just to turn over to somebody else to do it for me. But found out that publishing a book in December is not a good idea. Live and learn. Apparently all the publishers, the printers, my hardback printer and my paperback printer have experienced massive delays, and they always do around December. So getting a proof copy is going to be next to impossible. So that's not good. I either got to publish it blind, which is super scary, meaning I don't have a proof copy and it goes live and people can order it, or I have to wait for the proof copy and the publishing date gets delayed. Still trying to figure out what to do. I think the ebook is going to be fine. That'll be December 10th. I think the paperback might get it over the line December 10th as well. I think the hardback, unless I approve it blind, I'm hosed there. So live and learn. That's one of those things when you're kind of a one-man band. Just a lot of balls to have up in the air to juggle around. So, but the book is done. It is completely done and edited and proofread and formatted. And the paperback printer, Kindle Direct Publishing, also has technical difficulties right now, so they can't even accept my book. Anyway. One of those days. So, it is completely done. Formatted, the map's in there, the pictures are in there, the about me, the cover, everything's done. So I just got to get the printers to play ball, and then we'll have a book. So I am crazy excited for people to read this book. I've read it 1,000 times, and I'm still excited when I read it, and there are just some awesome stuff. As I mentioned before, more dramatic, more tragic, more humorous, more action, more twists, more turns, more mystery. I think I did a good job on this book, and I was able to do that because of a lot of people that help sort of pitch in. I had some awesome beta readers, Clark Rowanson and James Van Duke, Aaron Brewster, John Wilson, a bunch of guys stepped up to the plate, and gals as well, and really helped me sort of fine tune the story and the message. So I tell you, when I write this book, and I'm writing about, friendship through the eyes of Willow, or, feelings of revenge and betrayal from the eyes of Roanna, or redemption from the eyes of Cornelius, or, on the other side with Sam, his, talking about friendship with him and courage and conviction and recovering from tragedy. It is very cathartic. It helps me kind of explore all these different parts of the human condition. And I know it might seem silly because it's a kid's fantasy book, but it's still, I think, tackles and deals with some pretty weighty topics. And it's a very cool experience to be able to sort of lose myself in that world and explore, all my different characters. And they have sort of different I mean, you write what you know, and you try to extrapolate to things you don't know, but it's all coming from you. All the characters, however different they are from you, are all coming from your head. And however much they seem to occupy a life of their own, it is a very interesting experience to be able to explore sort of those different facets of the human condition through the eyes of people who aren't me. Through this 14-year-old Scottish girl Viking named Rowanna who, had her parents killed when she was a little kid, and she's sort of marred by this and haunted by a very strong sense of vengeance that she wants to fulfill. And Sam, who had something similar happening, and his dad died when he was, these are all characters in my book, dad died when he was little. He doesn't really have anyone to take revenge on. His dad just died in an accident. And so sort of exploring those two different things those sort of a similar loss, but through two very different lenses, has been a very interesting process. And it's just helping me, helping me think about life in a lot of different ways. So I hope that people get a similar experience when they read the book. As I said, it's a kid's fantasy novel, but it's epic in scope, and I think I handle a lot of really cool topics and weighty topics, and I think it's fun for all ages. It really is. Some just awesome one-liners. I think it's banging on all cylinders. So I cannot express to people how excited I am for them to read this book. So December 10th, in some form or fashion, will be available. Ebook for sure. Paperback, I'm hoping. Hardback, depends how much guts I have. So there you have that. Another thing I want to do, just random thoughts on stuff in the news. And this is not like political stuff, because you can go listen to a different podcast for that. I don't want to get into that. But just random things that sort of cross my path on social media or other news that I have an opinion on that I'd like to voice. So there's this mom with this daughter whose name is spelled Abcde. I guess you're supposed to pronounce it Abcde, which is a horrific name anyway. Anyway, she went to Southwest Airlines, and the gate attendant took the ticket and I guess laughed at it, and then took a picture of it and posted online. And the headline, sort of the clickbaity headline, was, little 5-year-old girl asks, "Mom, why is this person laughing at my name?" I would hope the only answer that mom gave her daughter was, because 5 years ago I made a horrible, horrible decision, and the chickens are coming home to roost. Now look, bullying of any sort is not something that I advocate at all. Little girl doesn't deserve it. But you know what the little girl didn't deserve also? A stupid name. An objectively stupid name that's going to make her life immeasurably harder. Look, the gate attendant person was a jerk. I admit that. And you should be making fun of little kids. But the mom has got to cop this one, 100%. I've got a big soapbox on names, but look, you have this thing, this creature that you create from your own genetics and that you birth into this world, and you care for immeasurably, and you love and you want this person to succeed and give every advantage to possible. Why? Why, for the love of all that is good and holy, would you shackle them with the name Abcde? And just expect and require the world to accommodate that horrific dumpster fire of a name. I feel so bad for the little girl. My pity and empathy is not for the mom, it's for the little girl. I have to drag around that name for her whole life. Every form she fills out, her name is not Abcde. You know that, right? Her name is Abcde. Yes, I know it's Abcde, but it's pronounced Abcde. My mom was crazy. It's a paragraph. Her name isn't a word. Her name is a paragraph, because every time she says it, every time she spells it, every time she fills out a form, every time she talks to customer service over the line, she needs to have that explanation. So you didn't name your kid one word. You named your kid a paragraph, an explanation, and a story that I'm sure she is beyond sick, or will be beyond sick of telling people and explaining. Like, if you want to come up with something quote-unquote creative, like naming your kid the first 5 letters of the alphabet, get a dog. Get a hermit crab. Get something that, is not going to be hampered by that their entire life. For heaven's sakes. So, yeah, that the mom's got to wear that one. And they're just like, it's horrific. It's like, yeah, you got to know that's coming. If you name your kid, dog poop, you got to expect, I understand we all have to control ourselves, and we shouldn't bully, and we shouldn't, troll people and stuff like that, but like, man, you're making it tough on society. Like, I'm not excusing the people to do it, but don't be surprised if it happens. Like, there is this thin line between your responsibility and people's responsibility and their actions. Like, I'm not saying that person, couldn't have controlled their actions, but good night. Name your kid something, I don't know. Anyway, that's my minor soapbox there on what's in the news today. So, all right. So, podcast interview this week, Mr. Sean Stosich. So another one of my good high school buddies who has gone through a crazy physical transformation. So I played football with Sean. Sean wasn't out of shape, He played football with him, but he didn't look like he does now. He is like Captain America ripped. And his wife is a bodybuilder as well. So they help people through transformations. He's worked, hand in hand with Bruce on stuff. Talked with Bruce a couple weeks ago. And I think this kind of all came about. I saw a picture of another guy I went to high school with, and he's shredded now. And I was like, what the heck happened to this guy? So then I found out Sean had been working with him, and I was like, all right, I got to talk to Sean, because I've talked about this in weeks prior. I don't know why this podcast has turned into like this fitness podcast, but because it's another part of my life I want to pick up. As I said before, I'm kind of retooling myself, all my assumptions, everything's back on the table, kind of taking a look at all the different things I do in my life, not just professionally, but personally and from a health perspective as well. So my neck's feeling a little bit better. I feel like I probably get back into working out. And the thing is, 90% of it's diet anyway. So I got no excuse there, especially now that I have a lot more control over kind of what I eat and the situations I'm in when I eat. So yeah, I wanted to understand kind of what was behind this, and if I could do it. And I think I can. It's just a large dose of discipline. So I talked to Sean. Sean helps people with these transformations, him and his wife. So we have a great conversation. A lot of it, just like it is before, reminiscing on old times. And forgive us if you don't understand the inside jokes. But I think it's a very worthwhile podcast. We talk a lot about macros. We talk a lot about the mindset of transformation and where that starts and how you accomplish that. Why some people are able to do it and what some people aren't. And I'm just continually fascinated with people who are able to do big changes in their life, whether it be professionally or from a fitness perspective or anything else. So I'm really trying to study the mindset behind that, because I've done it in big chunks, but I still feel like a bunch of my life is still undisciplined, or at least out of sorts. A lot of this is just kind of, I needed this first book to kind of land and settle down a little bit. And since we're kind of there, I thought it was a great conversation, or a great time to have this conversation with Sean. So without further ado, Mr. Sean Stosich. This week's episode, I am joined by my longtime friend, Sean Stosich. Just like Bruce, I have not talked to Sean in probably 15 years. There's all these people around me that were in my high school and I played football with who have now just like gotten jacked. They're just like super huge. I look around at me and my friends, like my core group of friends, and we've all let ourselves go. And then I kind of look out there at other guys that I knew in high school, and I was like, man, they look like freaking Captain America. Like, they're going through that same like body change that all the actors have to go through to play like a superhero. So Sean was one of those. So in fact, I probably talked to you about you on earlier podcasts. I've lamented the fact that you did not look like the way you look now in high school, and you would have been a huge service to us had you been freaking jacked. in high school. But yeah, so Sean used to own a gym, a CrossFit gym. His wife is a bodybuilder, and then together they've helped out a bunch of people sort of transform their bodies. Now, the thing that sparked having you on the show is I don't know where I was or who first showed it to me, but someone handed their phone to me and go, dude, look what Richie Nash. So Richie Nash is another mutual friend of ours. Look what happened to Richie Nash. And Richie was in pretty decent shape, but his before and after, I was like, come on, man. Like now he's freaking shredded. And I remember, I haven't seen Richie in probably, I don't know, 8, 9 years as well. And I remember when I met him, I think I made a comment like, oh yeah, Richie putting on a couple pounds. I mean, I have no place to talk, which is probably why I said it, because we were both, letting ourselves go. And I look at him now, I'm like, what the heck, man? What happened? And then, this is not related to you, but I used to play flag football with a guy. He's my brother-in-law's friend, Adam Crowley. You don't happen to know Adam Crowley, do you? He's a Timpview guy. He's a few years younger than us.
It sounds familiar, but
he's a big dude. He's like 6'3", 6'4", and he had a before and after. And his before and after too was like, in fact, I could probably show you the before and after. It's on my phone. And I looked at it and I was like, what is going on? Like everyone's freaking just getting shredded. And I've obviously gone through. Let me see. Pull it up here. Yeah. So this is Crowley's. This is Crowley's before, right?
Okay.
You can kind of see that.
Yeah.
This is his after.
Oh wow.
Yeah, dude. Like
That's crazy.
What the heck, man? What is going on? And so I was like,
awesome.
all right, I've tried to get a little bit in shape now that I have control of my schedule, and I just totally jacked myself. Hurt my neck, hurt a bunch of other things. Anyway, I want to do this. I want to make my life like more disciplined. I'm finally doing what I want to as far as writing and, not having to go to a refinery every day. But there's all these other things I want to do, and they require a bit of discipline and structure. So I've seen a bunch of the stuff you post on Instagram as far as like, there's no secret. It's just boring old habits. So this is what I want you to talk us through. Like, you're a guy who has done this crazy body transformation, and now you help people do it. So what is it, man? What is the secret sauce?
Oh well, you hit the nail on the head, Mike. I actually got that quote from a Ray Allen story, and that's exactly what he said. That the secret to success is there is no secret, just boring old habits. Right. And that's kind of what it comes down to. I mean, you get a lot of people out there that are thinking there's a special sauce or a magic pill or some special program. And the fitness industry has marketed so many things along those lines, strap on this waist trainer and get abs, or, here's this ab roller, you'll lose 30 pounds in 30 days.
My favorite was the ab flex. It looked like we had it in my house. It looked like a stealth bomber. And it had this pad on your stomach, and you just like pull it into your stomach. Yeah, that was the best one.
And all those things are fine, I guess, in their place. But what it comes down to is what can you consistently do that's gonna make changes, and what can you stick with, and it comes down to habits. It's kind of you have a goal. And a lot of times that end goal seems really big or really far away, but with anything in life, you take little steps to attain that goal. And sometimes it's, I got to eat egg whites every morning for breakfast, things like that they're boring. Right. But it's like, well, do you want to eat egg whites every day for breakfast, or do you want to be fat?
So you had to go through this transformation first. And when did you? Yeah. Because I'm looking at like even at my most ripped when I was in high school, I had to like flex to get my abs. I'm looking at you. You have like legit movie star abs, like the kind that are just like they just look like they're painted on. And I was like, so how do you go from being Sean Stosich in high school to having like those are legit results, man. Those aren't like wishy-washy results. So when in your life, was it 10 years ago, 5 years ago? When did you make that transition, and how did you do that? When did you just wake up and be like, I'm gonna do this? Because you weren't like that before in high school. It's not like you weren't out of shape.
Well,
but you didn't look like you do now.
Yeah, and that kind of That's a good question, and I think there's a long story behind all of that, but I'll try to kind of give you the condensed version.
Sure.
Because when I think about things like that, to answer your question, it does start back in high school. I specifically remember after our senior year of football, I put on probably an additional 20 pounds.
Yep.
And all through high school, I kind of stayed at the same weight.
What were you in high school?
I hovered around like 215 in high school.
And you're what? Like you're 6'1", 6'2"?
I wish. No,
Really?
I'm 5'11". Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
You were larger than life character, man. I pictured you as a bigger guy.
It's the camera angles.
It must be. I only played football with you for 5 years.
It was the neck roll.
It was the neck roll. Everything goes back to the neck roll, man.
Oh man, the Adam Simmons neck roll.
Prodigious use of neck roll. I want to try to fit Adam Simmons neck roll into every single one of my podcasts.
So, side note, there's very few plays that I actually remember from high school football.
Yeah.
But when you and Bruce brought up Adam Simmons bouncing up from that hit, I specifically remember that play.
I wish I would have written more down, man. I wish I would have documented more of my life in a journal format, because it's so funny to go back and read
I'm
that
grateful
stuff.
I'm grateful for all of our friends, because half the crap I can't remember. They bring stuff up. I'm like,
And certain people just remember life better. Like Eric Plessier just remembers life.
Yeah.
Like I remember I was like, getting straight A's and stuff. Eric was goofing off, and I would talk to Eric about like something in our, when we were like 6 or 7 years old, and he would remember it. Like he would remember the Seven Peaks theme song off of a commercial, like word for word. He would, he just remembers life better. I could study for a test better. I don't know. Anyway, I digress. So started in high school. So you gained
so to get back to that,
20 pounds.
And I remember that, and I specifically remember talking to Coach Clark.
Really?
And because we were talking and stuff, and he was kind of asking me what my goals were and things, and I was like, I don't know. I'm kind of into bodybuilding. I want to maybe pursue that a little bit. And he's like, well, how do those guys look? I'm like, well, they're freaking ripped.
Yeah.
He's like, and he was like, kind of that way. Like, well, you're not. You need to get ripped.
Right.
And I was like, okay. And back then we didn't have all the stuff that's available to us today.
I talked the same thing about Bruce. Like, none of us, at least that I was aware of, was doing anything with diet. Like nothing. Zero. Like no one was telling us. No one even brought the subject up. No one was like, hey man, diet's more important than exercise. Nothing.
Yeah. I mean, it's a different world now for the high school kids, where, I mean, now they've got boosters and things, and they're getting one-on-one training, and the boosters paying for that stuff. And
part of me is glad that we didn't grow up in that. To be honest. Just way too much pressure.
Yeah. But anyway, from there, I kind of researched out, and I want to say it was called Body for Life.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's right. It was, I can't even remember the guy's name, but I remember kind of just doing some research on my own and finding this guy, and he was like, okay, here's kind of a meal plan. And I was like, okay. And most people probably don't remember, but probably from January to the end of our senior year, I would bring a sack lunch to school.
You were brown back then.
I doubt anybody remembers it, but it was full of baby carrots and tuna fish sandwiches.
No way.
Plain tuna.
Okay.
And I ended up getting down to 185 by the end of our senior year. And so that was kind of the start of I guess the fitness journey. I mean, right. I'd always been into sports and lifting weights and doing things, but and I know I didn't go about it the correct way back then, and science and research has evolved since then. There's ways to do things that are more optimal than the way I did them. But
Right.
like I said, I didn't have any of that available to me. It was kind of just, hey, figure this crap out.
So the secret sauce is baby carrots and tuna fish sandwiches.
Yeah,
That's all it takes.
And it goes back to consistency.
Yeah.
You know, it was, okay, I'm eating that every single day, and all of a sudden my body's changing. But to kind of fast forward to more present day, got into CrossFit. Was always kind of just fit, but not like ripped to where I could show up to the pool and take my shirt off and have zero worries about being confident about it.
Dude, the greatest thing about being a dad is when you show up to the pool, quote unquote, it's like the splash pad.
Yeah.
And there's just very little competition. You know, there's a favorite quote of mine, and I've lived my life by this, is in the land of the blind, the man with one eye is king.
Yeah.
And you show up, man, you look around these other dads, and I'm like, I'm all right.
Yeah. Right.
I'm looking okay.
Yeah, I love that. But it was, so I was kind of right, you know, where it's like, if I have my shirt on or whatever, people are like, oh, that dude's fit. He's got big arms and he's got a good build stuff. But I was just never real comfortable, like throwing off my shirt and not showing off, but I just was never really comfortable in my own skin. And getting into CrossFit and owning a gym, kind of went the paleo route for a while.
Yep.
And I was like, yeah, I like eating this way. It's great. But I was like, I'm still fat. It's like, what is going on? And so I started doing a lot of research about different things, because I was just, and it was about 6-7 months after my first daughter was born. I was just like, I need to make a change. Like, I see guys even in my own gym that I'm like, I'm more fit than these guys.
Right.
Like, I'm beating them in workouts. I can outlift them. I can outtrain them, but they look better than me. I was like, I don't like that.
Right.
And part of, you know,
more to show for it. Yeah.
And it's dumb, but you see trainers and different things that could have all the certifications, all the credentials in the world, but if they don't look the part,
right,
they lose a lot of credibility.
Yep.
And chances are most people are going to go to the person that looks the part. They're going to go, hey, I want to look like you. What are you doing?
Right.
How can you help me? So doing some research, I found a program of he's a really well-known weightlifting coach and powerlifting coach. He himself has set world records in powerlifting and different things. But he had a program that was a training program and a nutrition program, and it was called Eat What You Want, Lift What You Want.
That's good. Yeah, my attention.
So I was like, okay, yeah, I want to be able to lift what I want and eat what I want. Like, what's going on here? So researching it out a little bit more, and kind of at the same time, I found an article by a girl, I believe her name is Nicole Capurso, but she wrote an article called "Donuts Gave Me Abs." And I was, and
if there's ever a clickbait title, it's Donuts Gave Me Abs.
I was like, okay, sign me up.
Yeah.
And as I researched more, it was, you know, her methods were the counting your macros,
right.
If it fits in your macros, flexible dieting, whatever you want to call it, they're all the same. And then looking into this other program, I was like, oh, this is the same thing. So I was like, okay, it was a 3-month commitment. I signed up and started working with a coach on nutrition. And in that, I was like, and we can maybe dive a little bit more into that, but long story short, that is where kind of I got my transformation. At the time I was weighing about 220 and dropped down to about 190.
Wow.
in the matter of like 3 months. Like, it was pretty quick. And I was really worried that, you know, I was like, well, you know, everybody always tells me if I'm dropping weight, my strength is going to decrease and this and that. But I found that as long as I was training with the same intensity, that my strength was actually going up as I was losing body
That's crazy.
fat.
So so do you have any idea what your body fat percentage like drop was?
I wish I would have tested it at the beginning, and I didn't.
Yeah.
Like a knucklehead. But at the end of it, I was at about 6.5, 7% body fat.
Good night, man.
Yeah, and that's an interesting thing too. Is everybody carries body fat differently.
Right.
So 6% might look like 10% on somebody else, and different things. But yeah, I was really lean to the point where a lot of our members of the gym were like, "Are you okay? like, do you have cancer or?"
That's when you know you've done well.
Yeah,
I carry most of my body fat in my head now. Apparently, every time I do these, I'm like, "Good night." I have a big. The first thing I noticed when I was talking to my brother Steve, the first podcast episode, I'm like, somehow your head gets fatter. I need to go into Operation Unfat Head. That's what I need to do. That's my.
I love it.
The beard doesn't help either. It makes me look. It hides a little bit of my fat face, but it also fills it out a bit. So I don't know.
So that's kind of the quick version of that. But ever since then, that was about 5 years ago.
Okay, so you've been basically the same. You've kind of locked into a program for the last half a decade, more or less.
Yeah, and yeah, to put it quickly, I mean, yeah, there's definitely a lot that goes into it. There's ups and downs. There's reverse dieting involved. Getting out of that caloric deficit and getting back into a surplus and actually putting on a little bit of body fat.
Do you go through cycles? You like bulk up and then slim down?
Yeah, and it's kind of, I guess, kind of a rule of thumb that you take, whatever time you take to lose body fat and get down to your ideal, you also want to take the same amount reversing the diet and kind of working your way back up. And kind of the end goal in that process is to get close to kind of your starting point, kind of before you started dieting, but keep a lean body mass. So keep your body composition leaner, but getting back to a point where you were eating more food.
Okay.
So maybe to kind of expound on that, maybe it'll help to kind of explain a little bit of that process, to where with macro counting and flexible dieting, you're essentially taking you've got your total calories. Say it's 3,000 calories.
Right.
And you figure out, there's a number of ways to figure out kind of the basal metabolic rate of what essentially what is the minimum amount of calories to keep a person alive, or their resting metabolic rate, I should say, is if I'm just sitting on the couch all day,
right?
What's the minimum that I need? And that's kind of hard to figure out. There's a few just simple equations to get it easy, without it going and getting tests done and different things to getting it exact.
Yeah.
But typically what we'll do is we'll give someone a starting point. We'll go, okay, based off your weight and your activity levels, let's start at this amount. And then we take the calories and break them up into protein, carbs, and fat. Okay. So rather than focusing on calories, you're tracking protein, carbs, and fat every day. And I like to think of it as like a budget. Here's your daily food budget. And here are the bills that you have to pay. You need to pay those bills with this budget. You can't go over. If you're under, you're fine, but you should be able to zero out at the end of the day.
Okay.
So if I've got 80 grams of fat, 220 grams of protein, and just for simplicity, say 220 grams of carbs, those are the numbers I'm hitting every single day. And you can eat those macronutrients in any form you want. That's where the whole donuts gave me abs, eat what you want comes into play. And I really put that to the test. In the first kind of my first experiment with it, was like, okay, I'm going to eat a Snickers today.
Right.
And this, and I'd throw in different things, knowing that, okay, that Snickers bar had 12 grams of fat. So there goes 12 grams of fat and like 30 carbs. And it doesn't have very much protein. I'm going to have to make up that protein somewhere.
Right. So have you found that most people just, I mean, I know everyone's diet's the same, but like the standard American diet, we're eating not enough protein and then just too many carbs and too much fat? So you kind of just swap those more or less?
Yeah, and the interesting thing with protein is it's very hard to eat protein and get fat. There's been a number of studies done. Kind of the rule of thumb for the amount we should get is like 0.8 grams per pound of body weight, okay, up to like 1.2 grams per pound of body weight.
So you doing shakes a bunch? Are you just trying to get this through meat? Like you just pounding freaking chicken breasts all day? Or are you
and you know, I like to leave that up to the individual. For me, I've found that what works for me is most days I'll have one shake, but I prefer to get most of it through food.
Right.
Mostly because I like to eat.
Right. Yeah.
And yeah, we do buy a lot of chicken. We go through a lot of chicken, a lot of eggs, egg whites, and things. But they've done studies where people have gone up to like, 2-3 grams of protein per pound of body weight, and there's been like zero change. They're like, is this going to build more muscle if they do this? And it didn't, but they also didn't gain any fat. So it's like, okay, here's the range. It doesn't really do any benefit to go over that unless you just need to feel full. Okay. So
right.
So anyway, what it does too that I really found for me is in the past I would really I do the whole clean eating thing, which there's no real definition of that. And there's kind of the people think, okay, it's chicken and broccoli, kind of chicken and veggies. That's clean eating. But what I found with that is it just wasn't sustainable.
Yep.
You can sustain it for a few months and really lean out, but then it's like once you have a piece of candy or a piece of cake, you just can't stop.
Yeah, that's what I noticed too. Like if I'll ever try to do like a little intermittent fast or something, and then I'll have like this is the other day, because I usually don't eat breakfast. I usually just skip breakfast and then have lunch. I remember this was a couple of days ago. I had like a Ritz with peanut butter on it, and I was like, oh man, that's good. And I had like another one. I was like, man, that's so freaking good. And then I was like, I'm peanuts. And he's like, and I was like, I wasn't even hungry. Yeah. I didn't have to eat that first one, but once I ate the first one, it's like floodgates are open. Friggin' screw it,
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I found myself doing when I was trying that. Is I'd eat really good like Monday through Friday, then the weekend hit, and it was like, if you put it in front of my face, I'm going to eat it.
Right.
And what's interesting is with flexible dieting, it kind of takes that out of the equation. It's like, oh, if you want a piece of pie, you can eat that piece of pie.
Right.
But you're probably going to be eating straight chicken the rest of the day.
The rest of the day, right.
So you kind of have these deliberate trade-offs. But what I found with doing it is that I rarely will binge eat on just junk food.
Right.
So essentially I'm eating cleaner than I was when I was trying to eat clean. It kind of forces you to have really good ratios. It's like you can eat as bad as you want or as good as you want, and it's all going to eventually even out. So I know, if there's days where I'm like, oh, that donut looks really good or whatever, I'll eat a donut. And I know, okay, I'm going to have to give up some carbs and fat later because of that, but it was worth it.
Do you even have to track it on an app anymore, or do you just have it all in your head now because you've been doing it for so long?
I still do, just because I get very like OCD with it.
Right.
Where it's like I have to track it just for my own sake. But the ideal is to be able to learn how to intuitively make decisions and eat. There's a really good book called Intuitive Eating that kind of talks about that, where a lot of times in the beginning we need to be really strict with tracking to learn how to intuitively eat. And we don't always need to eat everything on our plate at a restaurant. There's times where we just need a bite to get that craving out of our system, and then we're done. And you brought up Rich Nash. He's kind of fallen in those lines. I've been helping him out quite a bit, but he's been traveling a lot for work, and it's really hard when you travel. A couple times he went out of the country, and they just don't have they don't have the same grocery items. You're not going to the grocery store and stocking up on things. So he's just kind of like, I really had to intuitive eat because these other things weren't available.
So what was his story? Did he just kind of decide to do it one day and then started doing it, or did he come to you for help? How did he kind of take the plunge? Kind of both. Kind of like you've mentioned, I post things on Instagram. A lot of it's a marketing thing to kind of say, hey, here's transformation things. Right.
And to be honest, a lot of it was one of my goals, probably the last couple of years. I mentioned that I had a lot of insecurities with my body. And a lot of it for me was like, I just was like, okay, I don't give a crap anymore. I need to get over some of these insecurities, which I still have, but I'm like, okay, I'm going to put things out there. I'm going to put these shirtless pics on Instagram. It's like really uncomfortable for me to do, but it's also helped me kind of deal with that insecurity that I've had for a long time. And so he kind of reached out to me and was like, hey, for lack of a better phrase, I want to look like you, kind of thing. Like, okay, you're looking pretty jacked. What do I need to do? And then it kind of went from there. Like, okay, well, let's. What are your goals? I know he's not looking to, compete in anything or get on stage or this. Right. It's just like, kind of what we talked about. I want to show up to the pool and take my shirt off and not have to think twice about it.
Right.
And that's kind of what it was. And then, kind of our weekly check-ins. I don't check in weekly with him, but typical clients will do weekly check-ins.
Right.
And I'll just be like, hey, how we looking? And I'll get a picture. And the one that I posted of him was like, it blew me away. Yeah. Because I hadn't got one for a while. And it was awesome.
How long was that between his before and after, do you know?
Let's see. I think I started working with him around August. So it's probably been about 3 months.
Dude, really?
Yeah.
That's like nothing, man.
Yeah, you can change a lot in 3 months. It's crazy.
And this is the thing with me, without going into have you be my psychologist, but
that's what your brother's for, right?
Yeah, that's why I have him on so often. So my big thing, I had back surgery when I was 26. So I screwed it up on my mission. I lifted some missionary up, just goofing around, and I felt my spine just go thunk. And then I was fine, and every 6 months I'd throw it out. And it was doing something stupid, like sneezing or twisting weird, picking up something off the floor. But in between bouts, I could kind of do whatever I wanted. I still worked out, I still played flag football. And then I lifted a barbecue that I got for a killer deal at Walmart. But I remember I lifted this barbecue into my car, and I got home, and I was like, oh, I need to lie down. And I didn't get off the floor for 2 days. And I was like, I have ruptured my disc. So then I tried everything. I tried acupuncture, cortisone shots, physical therapy, even tried yoga for a little bit, tried all this stuff, and the pain got worse and worse and worse. The sciatica just was blazing to the point where I couldn't even sit. It's there was one position I could be in where I wasn't in pain. I was on my back. I wrote half of a book I never published, but I wrote half of this ginormous book while just have my back on the ground. So I finally told myself, one of the hardest things for me to do was to say, I am not going to live, I can't go back. I can never play flag football again. I can never really play a sport, really, because I would twist weird, and then I'd be 3 weeks just shot, just 3 weeks of pain. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to live a life, not the life I want, but a life without pain. It's kind of where I retreated to. I was like, as long as I can sit through a movie, that was the bargaining I was doing myself. I can't even sit through a movie. And And I was like, I feel like I'm 100, you know? And so I ended up getting back surgery. I got a micro discectomy, which helped quite a bit. And then it would flare up again. And I got to a point where like everyone's like, do the stretch. And honestly, the thing that helped it was don't do anything at all. Like I would not go into flexion at all. I would have my back rigid for a month. Like I would bend down to like wash my hands, and I would squat at the knees, keep my back straight. I just treated it like a car accident injury, right?
Right.
So then my back stabilized, and I was like, okay, I'm not gonna do stretches. I'm not gonna do anything. I'm not gonna piss it off. It's basically how I did for years.
Yeah.
And I just kind of consigned myself to like this. In a way, it made me. It was okay once I got over the fact that like you're never gonna be able to go to a turkey bowl again, you know, and play football on Thanksgiving. And then I was like okay with it. It sucked because I love playing flag football. I love playing sports.
Yeah.
But I just kind of resigned myself like that's just not, you know, looking like you, having those transformations, it's not on the table, dude. It's like flag football, it's like other stuff, it's off the table. So just forget about it. And now that I can, not that I'm less busy because I work all the time now, but I control my schedule 100%. So I could work anything into it. And I'm like, you know what? I think that space that I retreated into to like not be in pain, I've kind of used as an excuse because if you really think about it, the vast majority of it is diet, which has nothing to do with my back anyway. So like me saying like, oh yeah, I can't get ripped. It's like, yeah, you could. And so now I'm like, what could I do that I could step into? Diet is number one. I have complete control of that. I don't travel very much at all anymore. I work in my house. So like I have very much control over what I would eat. And then I guarantee I can come up with something that I could do for workout and that I could ease into it. So that's when I was like, it kind of dawned on me like a couple months ago when I hurt my neck and I was like, you know, I got to quit making excuses. I just got to do it. So that's when like I started talking to Bruce and I was like, I got to talk to Sean. I just got to start like, I'm super disciplined in some aspects of my life. And I don't know whether that's like making up for the fact that I'm crazy undisciplined in other aspects of my life and it balances itself out. But I was like, I could do this better. So then I started talking to Eric, and Eric said I wanted macros, and his, you know, he called and talked to me for like 2 hours a couple weeks ago about macros. Yeah. And he's like, you know what, Sean and Bruce, it's all freaking macros. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. So I started listening to him, and I'm like, you know, I kind of want to get back into it, man, in some form or fashion.
We'll do it.
And that's like the thing is like, I remember when I lost, it was 2 summers ago, I lost like, this is basically from fasting like hardcore over the course of like 8 weeks. We're like, let's have a weight loss challenge. And I was at 188, which is probably what I'm at now, which was the heaviest I'd ever been at that time. I've now broken that record, but and it was like me, Corey, Eric, and a couple other guys. And all I needed was that stupid $20 on the line. Like, who freaking cares about $20? You know,
some incentive.
It was $20. It was pride, and I lost out to Corey in the very end because he had. I mean, when you're going up against a 350-pound Polynesian, he's got the Dax stacked against you. But I lost like I think I got down to the 160s. I think I was like 169. Yeah. Before it was done, and then I just like, all right, we're done, and then, classic age-old story. So something I can sustain, something that I can do for the rest of my life is kind of what I'm after. And what I'm hearing is that's kind of what macros is all about, right? It's being honest with yourself at least enough to just not go outside the limits you've set with yourself. But then, as you said, being able to spend your budget how you want.
Yeah, exactly. And what most people are surprised with is the amount of food they eat. You know, you give them these numbers and they go, okay. And then a lot of the time, the first couple of weeks, they don't plan things out right. And then they're like, this is a ton of food. Like, I can't eat it all. It's like, really? Well, you need, but they're like, I'm full all the time and I'm like losing tons of weight. It's like, well, yeah, your nutrition was bad.
Right. That's right.
Even if you thought you weren't eating very much, you were still in a caloric surplus. Do
you lose a bunch of water weight to begin with, or you just start shedding fat?
A lot of times, like the first week, especially with males, I've found they'll drop like 10 pounds in a week.
Right.
And a lot of it is water. But then obviously after that, it slows a little bit. I like my clients to lose usually about 1.5 to 2 pounds a week,
Okay.
which kind of sounds like slow, but over the course of 90 days,
Dude, that's huge.
You're like, okay, yeah, I'm down like 30 pounds.
Right.
But yeah, I think for a lot of people, it's very, very sustainable. And it gives them that flexibility. Eric's one that's reached out to me and my wife a couple times, and I shoot him texts and kind of try to keep him on track too.
Dude, Eric, he was a monster. I don't know how much he works out now, but post mission, he was benching over 400 pounds.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that.
He's the most barrel-chested dude you will ever meet in your entire life.
And that's what I told him. I was like, dude, we need to get you freaking ripped because those chesticles are massive.
Huge, man. You can hardly hug the guy.
Yeah, yeah.
My dad a couple of years ago when Eric came in, and Eric was not light. He was on the bigger end of things. And my dad goes, Eric, you're looking prosperous. So every time I see him when he's not like doing too well, I was like, yeah, you're looking pretty prosperous, Eric.
That's probably the best way to compliment a big person.
You're looking prosperous.
You're looking very prosperous. Wow, that's amazing. No, but a lot of what you talked about is just it's a lot of people don't know how to take that first step.
Right.
You know, because I kind of look at your situation. It's like, okay, yeah, you've had this back injury. And which, injuries are scary because you don't want to, especially back injuries, you don't want to screw that up.
It controls everything, dude. Like even if you had like a shoulder injury, like, it's bad, as I said before, when you can't watch a movie. That's like, I can't sit down. That's a bad injury. You can't sit down. And I look at these guys that are in car accidents and they have their, spines fused and stuff, and they get back in there and they're like fighting in the UFC. And I'm like,
right.
I lifted a barbecue and had a microdiscectomy, and I feel like I'm 100 years old. I don't get it,
Yeah. Well,
something's not right.
This is maybe a tangent too. I was talking to my wife the other day because she trains for a very different purpose than I do.
Right.
Where she's training to get on stage, and I have very little desire to get on stage.
Right.
But I really get a rush from lifting heavy weight.
Yep.
Like I can't really explain it, but you throw 500 pounds on a bar to deadlift, and I look at it and I'm just like, yeah, let's do this. Like, and I get that rush from it. And she was talking to me the other day. She's like, you're gonna get hurt.
Right.
And you just need to be smart and this and that. And I go, well, that's the point. You need to be smart about it, but I also want to be as strong as I can be. And I'm like, well, stronger people are harder to kill.
Right.
If it hits the fan, and it comes down to the strongest survive kind of thing, I want to make damn sure that I'm one of the last men standing.
Yeah, there was this awesome. I was listening to this interview with Rose Namajunas. She's a champ. She's 125 pound, I think, champion, UFC champion. So she's super small. But she was talking to Joe Rogan about when the cage closes. She's like, you have this mentality, which is there's one bone, and only one of us is going to get that bone.
Yeah.
And she was just like, whoa, like that's intense stuff, man.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to choke you out. I want to see who gets that bone. Is it you or me?
It's a very primal way of thinking, but, and I was even kind of thinking about it, after me and my wife had the discussion and a little bit as I was working out, and I'm like, yeah, it's an interesting feeling to be like in a workplace or in a room of crowded people and look around, and maybe I'm just weird and maybe most people don't do this, but I'll look around and kind of size everyone up.
Yeah, I can take this guy out. Yeah,
and I just go, okay, this guy's kind of big, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But I go, the majority of the time I feel like, okay, I'm probably the strongest guy in this room.
Yeah.
And it's a good feeling.
And I'll tell you, this is funny because you think that like not a lot of people think like this. This is one of the biggest, hardest pills for me to swallow when I had my back injury. Was twofold. Number one, I had to basically just say, I better rely on some shotgun or something because I can't wrestle my kid, let alone wrestle some intruder, right?
Yeah.
And then the other one was, and this is going to sound so stupid, but I was like, this is so stupid. I don't think I've ever told anyone this because it's so dumb. But I was like, if I got cast in like a movie to be like Captain America, I couldn't do it. Like I couldn't. I would want to do my own stunts. I would want to get shredded. And I was like, I can't do it. And I was like, that door closed. That not that it was ever
awesome.
open. But
I love that way. I love that way of thinking.
Yeah, and I just like it's a hard pill because you look around, you size up, you're like, it's a confidence thing, and it's this weird. I think it's just biological.
Yeah.
No matter what part of society you're in an office at a keyboard, you're still gonna be like, yeah, I'd fare pretty well here,
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
But I know now, and as I said, once I accepted it, maybe I was okay. But I knew that like, I am a broken man. I would not do well in the zombie apocalypse.
And you said something interesting in one of your other podcasts about like drinking diet soda. Yeah. And on the weekends, kind of splurging on like a full.
Oh, you bet.
Full
the real deal. The real Dr. Pepper, yeah.
Yeah, real Dr. Pepper. I think you said full octane or something like that. Yeah. And for a lot of people, and this is one thing I always harped on Bruce on. Right. It was make little changes. Make 1% changes. Improve by 1%. And in these areas where, okay, switch to diet soda.
Right.
And then and we have people do that, and they're like, all I did was switch to diet soda, and I'm down like 15 pounds. It's like, well, yeah, because you were drinking an additional 30 carbs in one can of soda.
Right.
And if you have 10 of those a day, there's like 300 carbs a day.
It's nuts.
That you're taking in. You're not getting full. It's just empty calories. And start by making those little habits. I listened to a podcast. I'll try to get you his name. He's got a book about habits, but it talks about that. He talks about a guy that really needed to get in shape, and so he just started driving to the gym, and he'd set a timer. He'd only be there for 5 minutes, and he'd leave. He'd walk in, 5 minutes, leave.
Do his thing. Imagine just seeing that day. Guy, walk in and do his thing.
Every single day. And then he just got into the habit, and he's like, well, I'm here. I might as well spend a little more time here. And he ended up losing a bunch of weight.
Yeah.
And I posted something the other day about it because I wake up every morning at 4:30 and I walk my dog.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I was talking to my wife about it because when it gets cold, I mean, it's probably colder where you are, but there's a lot of the times in the morning it's like 20 degrees, and I have to like wake my dog up.
That's when
get up! Like we're going on a walk.
Get your dog out of bed.
And it's more of a thing for me because I've found that those walks before I work out will kind of clear my head. It gives me an opportunity to listen to audiobooks and podcasts. And it's more of a meditative thing for me.
Right.
And I've gotten so into the habit of doing it that it's like weird if I don't. And it kind of throws me off if I don't get up and do that.
What's your schedule? When do you go to bed usually?
If I'm happy if I go to bed by 11. So it's and I mean, ideally people are trying to get like 7 to 8 hours, right?
You're not one of those. Then.
Yeah, I'm typically, if I get like 5 to 6, I'm good.
Dang, that's how I used to be, man. That's how I was all before I quit. I was getting 5 to 6.
And I've tried to make a habit of trying to get good sleep. So I'll take like a melatonin and different things to make sure that, okay, I'm getting 6 hours of sleep, but it's typically, at least I feel, good quality sleep.
Yeah.
Where there's been times where, I'll sleep 7, 8 hours, but it's not that great, and I still am not feeling great. But that's just, that's another thing that, people don't realize the sacrifices they need to make to achieve their goals. We
Couldn't
get
agree with
people
you
that,
more, man.
yeah, there's all these, I get plenty of people that say, well, it's just so hard to do this or that, or, yeah, well, working out so hard. How do you do it? It's like, well, I just do it.
Right. Well, like,
It's
my
as
favorite
simple
one
as
is
that.
I'd be talking to someone at Exxon, right? And I was like, I know I work more hours than you because I'm here before you and I leave after you. And then I'll talk to them like, yeah, I'm coming out with a book. And they're like, oh, I wish I had time for that. I'm like, I work more than you in this
Yeah.
office. And
Yeah.
they're like, yeah, where do you find time for that? I was like, well, how much do you sleep? 8 hours. Carve 3 hours a night out of your sleep schedule for 3 years.
Yeah.
You'll have a book.
Yeah.
Like,
And if you talk to any, big time business entrepreneur, you say, well, what time do you wake up? Most of them are waking up pretty dang early.
yeah.
Because there's only so much time in a day. If the only place you can save time is in the morning, yeah, you better wake up earlier.
Better wake up. I've gotten this weird thing now because I was a night owl all growing up, and then Exxon forced me to be an early bird just because when I
Yeah.
had to show up to the construction site and refineries and stuff. And now, now that I have my own free time, I've almost kind of swung the pendulum too far in the other direction because I always did my best studying at night, but I'll stay up routinely 2, 3. I did a 4:30 the other
Oh,
week,
wow.
and I was like, even if in a 24-hour day, if I stay up late and I'll work, 18 out of the 24 hours or 60 or whatever it is, if I stay up till 4, I kind of feel like garbage, Even if it's like, even if I'll get up at 9 or 10, and it's like, yeah, I only got 6 hours of sleep because I was working so late, but I was like, yeah, but I still got up at 10. You still kind of feel, you still kind of feel bad, which is weird.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I've got to get more of a discipline. I talked about how I wanted to be a one alarm kind of guy.
Yeah.
I'm still not yet. I still have set an alarm and then a contingency alarm in case I get. And I was like, yeah, but I'm just admitting defeat. I'm just admitting that I'm not going to get up at that first alarm. I was like, no,
Yeah.
set one alarm and get your butt out of bed at the one alarm. I'm still not there yet, but
Yeah. And it's weird how I initially started working out really early, mostly because, I was spending a couple hours at the gym. My wife was spending a couple hours at the gym. And by the end of the day, we're not spending a lot of time with each other.
right.
And so it was like, okay, I'll get up at 4:30. I'll work out early. Then she goes and works out. And then, comes home. I go to work all day. And then it's like, okay, the evenings are free.
Right.
So we've made that work for us. But getting in the habit initially, it was like, oh, man,
Huge, yeah.
4:30 comes really early. But it's what are your goals? How are you going to make those things work for you? And I like what you and Bruce talked a lot about, being driven and motivated. Right. And the more I think about that, it's like, I think we're all driven in certain things, but we still need motivation to be driven. It's like, yeah, I'm extremely driven with diet and exercise, but there's definitely days where I don't want to do it, and I need a little bit of motivation. And sometimes you have to dig deep to find that motivation to do that. But I think we have that drive, and it's kind of instilled in us. We just need something to kind of bring it out and make that flourish.
We forget about it because I tell kids. My one big point when I go to I do school visits and talk to kids, I talk about finding what you're passionate about, and then passion feeds on awesomeness. So what you need to do is surround yourself in awesomeness. So I show them a picture of my home office and my sword on the stone I have in my front yard.
Yeah.
And I was like, look, you need to surround yourself not just with awesome things, but with awesome people. And one thing I realized is from a health standpoint and from a fitness standpoint, I wasn't surrounding myself. Just because of where I was in the refinery or construction site, those people were kind of gone from my life. And it was very easy to surround myself with workaholics and with people that would show up to, everything was for the company. And so that part of my life faded because even though I would like to say I was at one point in my life really driven with how I looked as far as my body's concerned and being healthy and having good fitness, when sort of my fitness structure and the people that were fit around me kind of faded away, it was very easy to let that thing slide. And it was very easy to say, all right, I got a pretty darn good excuse in a back injury, so I'm just going to use that. No one's here around me telling me like, dude, I got in a car accident and I'm freaking shredded. Or look at this guy over here who is, thought he could never walk again and now, was a stuntman or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't have those people around me to sort of to motivate me, to remind me like, dude, you have some of that drive in you.
Yeah.
And it was very easy to just let that slide. And I let it slide for years and years and years and years. And it wasn't until now I control my schedule that I even thought about dusting it off and going, maybe I should revisit this. Cause maybe I just haven't surrounded myself with the right people. I'm not talking to people like you and Bruce.
Yeah.
I'm not, I don't see people. Now I'm seeing like Richie Nash and I saw Adam Crowley and I'm just like, frick, I can do that. You know, I'm not going to let Richie do anything, and it's not like I have this big competition with Richie or anything other than the fact that he pulled the worst prank on me ever in the history of me having pranks pulled on me. But so I still feel like I got to get him back somewhere. For that.
You got to get him back.
But I'm not. It's not gonna be by looking better than him. I can tell you that much. But yeah, so I don't know. Maybe I want to surround myself with. Just like I tell the kids, I want to surround myself with people who are successful in ways that I want to be successful. Yeah. People that kind of show you, like, if you don't have the drive, you can surround yourself with all the bodybuilders in the world. It's not going to do anything. But if it's something you want to do, you just have to put yourself in the right kind of context and group of people, and then it's a lot easier to do that thing. Part of it's picking up knowledge. It's understanding like what the heck is even, what macros are and how much do you work out a day? You say So you do your walk with the dog, but how much are you at the gym hitting the weights?
It's typically about an hour and a half.
Okay.
Yeah. If I'm lucky, I can squeeze in 2 hours if I wake up a little earlier or hurry it up or whatever. But
so you're
1.5, 2 hours.
Or do you have like a set regimen like that you sort of ascribe to?
Yeah. I do typically follow a program. I've programmed for myself. I've for a long time, and I still follow it a little bit. It's called hybrid performance method. And an interesting kind of side note, it was my first nutrition coach. He started another company. He left that company and started another company that did like online programming. Kind of initially it was geared more towards weightlifting and powerlifting. They've kind of broadened that into corrective exercise and different things and strongman and stuff even. So I followed that for a long time just because I enjoy programming. I do it for other people. Right. But sometimes for yourself, it's hard to get that outside perspective and go, or I should say, we tend to do things that we enjoy to do. Right.
So if you're doing your own program, the fox is kind of guarding the hen house a little bit.
Yeah. So to kind of get that outside programming and outside perspective and have someone else say, well, you need to be doing these things if you want to achieve this goal. Right. Or make adjustments here and there. I found that worked for me to just kind of pick it up and go, okay, here's what we're doing today. And I'll definitely mix different things in that I enjoy to do, because if it's not fun, if you're not enjoying what you're doing, then it's not going to be sustainable. Right. So that's one of the big things too, is just find things that are working for you and make adjustments. I like to think of it's all just a science experiment. Right. I'm by no means a scientist, but if there's an exercise or something I want to try in the gym, it's like, okay, I'm going to try that for a while and see what it does. I'm going to try this exercise, work it in, and same with diet. It's like, oh, I'm going to try these different things, and let's adjust my fat and carb ratios a little bit. See if my body changes at all.
How long do you usually give yourself to realize whether something takes or not? Like when you make an adjustment, are you doing it for 2 weeks or 3 weeks or?
So typically with like a with a nutrition change, I like to give it at least 2 to 3 weeks. Okay. That's at least for me personally, and a few of my clients, I've noticed that's kind of what it takes before your body goes, oh, okay, this is what we're doing now.
Right, and then you can see the difference.
Yeah.
Or feel the difference. At least.
Yeah, and with exercise, your typical program is going to be a lot of times they're segmented in like 4-week blocks. So you'll do 4 weeks and kind of have like a deload week where you're still working out, but it's a little bit lower volume.
Right.
But for a workout program, you want to at least give it like 8 to 12 weeks.
Okay.
Before you decide to jump ship and try something different or mix things up. But there's all sorts of, just the tools that we have now, and maybe that's a little bit of the problem is there's so much stuff available.
Right.
People still don't know where to start. And the best thing to do is just pick one and start.
Yeah, I'll tell you, one of my problems is when I'm going to get back into working out and I'll just hit it like full bore, It's very hard for me to just like ease into something because I'll hit a full bore and then I'll injure myself. I'm like, oh crap, well that was fun 2 weeks. And it's just very hard because there's a lot of low-hanging fruit around my fitness tree, right? There's a lot of easy things that I can change and go after. And so I kind of I'll just get it all. And I just, scramble around and run straight into the tree.
Yeah.
And so, I think switching over to Mac, and again, it's like when I was talking to that doctor a couple podcasts ago about intermittent fasting, and he's like, yeah, you should try it. I was like, okay. And that afternoon, I fasted for freaking 3 days, It wasn't the funnest experience in the world, but I could do it.
Yeah.
It's not like I can't do it. So, I'm ready to make a change. I just kind of have to, number one, decide on doing it, and then number two, again, have the right structure around me of people kind of, pester me about it. Because if you don't have anyone really following up on you, it's very easy to just be like,
Yeah.
And you let it slide, and then...
Yeah, and there's like I said, there's so many different things out there, and what it really comes down to is the individual. What are you going to do to make these changes? You know, if you keep doing the same thing, you're going to keep getting the same results. So you gotta try something different.
Yeah, for better or for worse.
I've even told people, just start tracking all the food you're eating. I'm not going to give you any numbers to hit, anything like that. Just start tracking everything you put into your body. And it's going to make you more aware of what you're putting into your body.
Right.
When you see a plate of brownies, you go, okay, if I eat that, I got to track it. So now I got to get out my phone and put it into my Fitness Pal. So
that's where you use someone's laziness against them.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm too lazy to eat those brownies and put it in my phone.
And it just it makes them so much more aware. They go, oh, I didn't even realize that every time I walk past the desk at my office, I was grabbing a handful of candy or some peanuts or whatever, and you grab 5 handfuls of peanuts in a day. All of a sudden, you've pounded 40 grams of fat.
Right.
You're like, oh, yeah, I didn't even realize it. So that tracking things, it just makes you so much more aware of your food choices, and it makes you make choices.
Right.
Okay, do I really want that store-bought piece of pie, or should I hold off and eat this homemade cinnamon roll? It's like, me personally, I'm always going to opt for the homemade thing that I can't get at the store every single day.
Right.
And so you start making choices like that, and you realize, okay, maybe some of these things that I've given up aren't that bad, because now I feel better. I'm down 20 pounds or whatever. I'm lighter. I feel great. My skin is cleared up. My issues have gone away.
My head is less fat.
Yeah. And interesting thing, my wife had a client sign up recently, and she's like, oh, this is gonna be tough because she's gluten-free and dairy-free. I go, well, is she gluten-free, or does she have gluten intolerance and a lactose intolerance, or is she just out of shape? And she thinks these things are making her feel bad. It's like, if you feel bad all around, how do you know if it's a gluten intolerance? If everything you eat is crap, what makes you think it's the gluten that's making you feel like crap?
Right.
It's like, how about we clean everything up and see how you feel.
Right. Yeah.
and then we can, then we can experiment with dairy and these different things. Yeah, you may have an intolerance, but chances are it's just you feel like crap because you're eating like crap in general.
Yep. I mean, it's like the most obvious thing in the world once you like sit down and realize it. Like, I put a bunch of garbage into my body, I should probably feel like garbage. But the thing is like when you're a kid, it doesn't matter. I don't know what. Yeah. I am a chemical engineer, and I cannot figure out what is going on with kids' diet. Like you put like a saltine cracker and a candy bar in them, and they can go for days.
Oh.
And it's like,
Mike,
I don't understand.
I don't think my 5-year-old has ever eaten meat. She's just like, she's got a texture thing.
Yeah.
And she's off the charts for her height and weight.
Yeah.
It's like, you're huge and you eat blueberries and grapes. Like,
yeah.
What is the deal? Like,
why can't your body just stay like that? Just stay like that. Don't switch out of that face. Just stay.
They've got those hormones that are making them grow, and I don't know. But then you see other kids that are eating good, and you're like, why is your kid so small?
Yeah. Well, and my kids are massive. Well, at least my youngest, she's just ginormous. But she's the fruit eater as well. She eats tons of fruit, but she eats everything. But I don't know, man. It's like I remember in football practice. I think it was St. Mr. Bruce. I remember eating a peanut butter Twix and a Dr. Pepper before going to football practice for lunch.
Yeah.
And then you're doing football for 4 hours, off of a peanut butter Twix and a Dr. Pepper.
Get this, Mike. I was thinking about it more after the episode with you and Bruce, and we didn't have any of those things available to us. And I'm like, we went to a freaking buffet before a playoff game as a team.
Yeah,
like we were late to the game as a team because we were at a buffet.
Yeah.
And we wonder why we got our asses handed to us. It's like where
can it possibly start? How did this happen?
Yeah. It's like we were running at half speed because we all had a freaking food baby in us.
Oh, it's so true.
And
it's crazy.
But those were, that's just how it was back then.
I know.
Our coaches didn't know any better.
I know. I just can't. And I swear, I think we missed the boat by like 3 years. I don't know what happened between 2002 and like 2006 in the world of dieting and high school football, or high school sports in general, but somehow we missed it. I was talking to my brother. He's in Hebron. He's had a bunch of sons play football and stuff. He says Timpy's totally fallen from grace.
Oh yeah.
Orem is now the powerhouse because what's his face, Vivint, Todd Peterson just dumped a bunch of money into it. Mm-hmm. So they got like a sweet coach, a brand new field. And then Harriman is like the powerhouse.
Oh, wow.
Out in the middle of nowhere. I guess it's just the new money, wherever the new money goes.
Yeah.
Provo's old money, man.
I know like Skyridge won it, like their second year or whatever. It's like, what?
Just new money. I guess Provo High now has got a brand new school.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's Timpy going to do? We can't make fun of Provo High being the,
I don't know,
socially economic. But like you guys lived way out there. I don't know how you guys even made it to Timpview. You and Richie and Brady.
We always joke that they needed to level out the demographic a little bit. They need to get some poor areas of Provo in there.
From the south side.
Yeah.
I still remember the jam ball tournaments between the south side guys. It was like you, Richie, Brady against like me, Reagan, and like Rob Harkness or something.
That's awesome.
Those were the glory days, man.
Right? That was good stuff.
Jam ball. Last time I think I mentioned on a podcast how I stopped playing basketball because someone made fun of my shot.
Oh, no way.
I didn't. No one grew up showing me how to shoot, so I just would throw the basketball. And I guess I was an adult. I was living in Houston. I was like 26 or something, and I was at the church and I was like shooting threes, and my friend's like, "Is that honestly how you shoot a basketball?" And I was like, "What?" And then I was just like started looking because Reagan would always make fun of me because I would snap it. I didn't have a very nice follow through, and that was like the last time I ever played basketball in front of someone. I was like, "Man, maybe I do. Maybe I am. Maybe I do look like those stupid kids that can't
That's awesome.
So I've thought about like videoing myself and working on my basketball shot at the age of 34, just to try to smooth it out.
Why not?
As long as I'm reinventing myself, Might as well not look like an idiot while shooting a basketball.
That's when you try to get one of your kids into basketball.
Yeah.
And take them to a coach, but it's really for you.
Yeah, I'm just like looking at everything they're doing.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just saying, it's like when I order remote control cars for my kids.
Oh yeah, dude.
It's like, these are for me, but
the number one, if you want anyone wants any parenting advice, because people are like, Mike, you're so like involved with your kids and you play with your kids so much. I was like, you just get your kids into the stuff that you want to do. Like my first being my daughter, it took a while to get her in. Once she got into Mario Kart, then I was the best dad ever, because it was you could only play dolls so much. Yeah. But then when she got into video games, and then Owen, my boy, it just became so easy. You get the kids into Ninja Turtles. You get the kids into the things that you're like, parenting's the easiest thing ever. Yeah. I get to sit down and watch this when I could stop watching like Backyardigans, and when I could start watching like Troll Hunters and X-Men and Ninja Turtles. Parenting was just neutral. Yeah. You just coast, man.
Hey, you want to watch X-Men? Okay.
Sorry, honey. We got to watch X-Men again.
Bonding time, right?
So awesome. So so 5 years from now, where's Sean Stosich?
Oh, gosh, dude. That's a good question. I mean, hopefully we can keep kind of building this business up. We've got some plans for it, and we want to kind of expand that. I kind of feel like this first year of it was kind of our trial year. Yeah. And it's been going pretty good. So we want to just keep on working with that. One of the things that I've been working on is starting a podcast with that as well, and kind of just taking certain topics and kind of taking a deep dive into them. Yeah. But that's kind of it. We'll see,
Just keep it going. You're on a good thing, man, because it's something, I mean, I don't have to tell you, but the diet and fitness industry is something that just will never go away. Like, I look at all the dieting books at my mom's house, and it's just like there's always a new thing. But for someone who has found out how to do it, who can walk around as their own billboard, who was like, look, guys, I figured it out. And then they start having a string of people I've got the Richie Nashes, I've got whoever else that I can do it. And once you've figured it out, it's like, I don't need the next, I mean, I'm sure you'll always study and kind of keep up on what's out there. But once you figured out how to do it, you don't need to update your product. It works. Product works, man. I can take anybody and I can transform them, and it's healthy and it's proven. There's big bucks in that, man. There's a lot of people interested. I can tell you that much. Yeah, and I wish it was that easy, but the difficult part of it is the coaching part of it. I can give you the formula, I can give you these numbers, I'll set you up for success, but if you don't do the actual work, right? And that's kind of one of the frustrating things is I'll have a client that will not make any progress. And then I go, come on, are you following the plan? And they'll either kind of be like, oh yeah, I was kind of bad one day. It's like, okay, well, did that spill over into 2-3 days? Or what I really appreciate, the clients that are 100% honest, they'll be like, oh yeah, I slipped up and did this or that. Okay, and you can tell. I can go, okay, yeah, I can tell by your pictures that that you didn't make as much progress, this or that. But what's really frustrating is you see the ones that, maybe you'll have two start at, similar times, and you go, okay, this guy's getting ripped and this guy's not. And you're like, what are you doing? Oh, well, I'm sticking to the plan 100%. It's like, well, so is this other guy and he's getting ripped and you're not. Yeah, so, the amount of people that have thyroid problems that you go watch Biggest Loser. It's like, oh, I'm here with the thyroid problem. It's like, then how come you lost 150 pounds on diet and exercise? Yeah. 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 Okay. And and that's what's really interesting is we as a society, we try to cure so many of these things with pills. Right. We're trying to cure problems caused by diet with pills. Right.
rather than using the diet. The diabetes, obesity, all these different things that are caused by overeating and poor nutrition. We need to fix the nutrition problem,
Right.
not throw a pill down someone. We've had clients with, my wife has a client with MS and has struggled with things and has had like zero issues since he started working with her.
Wow.
Because he's got his diet in check. And
Yeah.
he's like, it changed my life. And it's crazy. And look at Bruce's, if you want an example of, anything,
Right.
Habits, integrity, transformation, getting off pills, he's a perfect example.
Right.
There were so many times where he was spending like $300 a month on pills
Jeez,
that were prescription. And I specifically remember a number of times where he would, you remember how Bruce would freak out.
Oh yeah.
He'd kind of go crazy, and you're like, oh, watch out, Bruce is like.
He's on one.
And there's the term he's off his meds. He was literally off his meds,
Right.
Because they couldn't afford them that month, and he had to wait until they could afford to go refill prescriptions. And I remember a number of times where he would freak out on some of our good friends, and I've been really close with him since childhood, and I was kind of the only one that could kind of put him in check. It was like, and I remember talking to him after, like, Bruce, you were an idiot, dude. And he'd go, I don't even know what happened.
Wow.
Like he'd almost black out. And it was, all these pills that he was on, all these antidepressants and different things. And he's not on any of them now.
That's crazy.
It's like you lost 200 pounds and magically all of your, psychological disorders are cleared up. It's like, it's crazy. I tell people all the time, it's like, they're out of shape and they're depressed because they can't, get a date or whatever. And it's like, well, and then they eat because they're depressed.
And they take a pill for their depression.
Yeah. I have anxiety and depression. I take a pill and then I eat and then this. It's like, well, all you need to do is diet and exercise. All of a sudden you're losing weight. Your confidence goes up. You're getting dates. Your confidence goes up even more. And then you kind of get addicted to this other cycle that's a positive cycle.
Right.
And it's so interesting to me that's kind of all it takes. And we're, as a society, we're so detached from that.
It's weird too, because it's a tough subject too, because I don't deal with depression. I probably had one what I would call depressive episode after my dad passed away, and it was this weird thing where I just like I was going to the refinery, I was working like insane hours. We're in the middle of a turnaround, and I remember I stopped and I was talking to my mom and my wife, and I was like, just kind of explaining how things were going. And I was like, man, am I depressed? I was like, is this like, it's like, this sucks, And I just like, and I'm very thankful. I just have I'm just wired a certain way that doesn't happen very often. And I know that that's a big problem. A lot of people in my life have had it. And it's not all going to go away on diet and exercise, but I think a lot of it, does. As you said, it's a snowballing effect in a positive way. And we're in a society today that it's a double-edged sword. Because a lot of it is like when we're more empathetic towards people and we listen to them, it's really good. And I was actually thinking about this last night. I was like, if someone were to look at my parenting style and criticize it from the outside, because a lot of the times I tell my kids, I'm not like super strict or anything, but I'll tell them like, you know what, just toughen up, please. Like my son's he's got a bit of anxiety, right? He's like 9, and I think he kind of abuses it a little bit, like. He's still kind of afraid of the dark. He wants like his little sister to sleep with him. And sometimes I'm like, all right, I get that, buddy. I'm going to be like accommodating. But other times I'm like, freaking snap out of it, man.
Yeah.
Like you just get over it. I mean, yeah. I was really afraid when I was a kid. I remember going over to Eric's house and like watching X-Files and just like curling up into a ball, and Eric would just go walk upstairs. Like I was terrified as a kid. But eventually, I didn't need a pill. I didn't need whatever. I just freaking decided I don't want to be the kid who's like afraid of stuff.
Yeah.
And then literally like that, I was changed. And so I've worked with Owen through about some of his anxieties, and I've tried the gamut, dude. I have tried the let's be uber empathetic and be really there for him and see if I can get him over the line. And then I've tried the exposure therapy.
Yeah.
And I've kind of gone through a bunch of these with my brother as well to see if I'm like not going over the line. But like, no, you're gonna fall asleep in this room. You're gonna realize nothing's wrong. Like, just freaking do it. And I think relating that kind of back to what you're saying is like, I think we are too. Sometimes this could come off really wrong, but I think sometimes we're too accommodating with stuff. We're like, oh, here, you know what? You do have a diagnosis of something, and it is out of your control.
Yeah.
Because somehow that validates somebody, and then let's treat it with a pill. When it's like, no, like when something is in your control, it's empowering. It's scary because you might be somewhat to blame for it. But when it's like you can do something about it, it's empowering because you can do something about it.
Right.
But you were in this weird balance where it's like, no, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. Here's this. And some of that with mental health is that way. There's people who are just chemically imbalanced. And so how you sift one from the other is really difficult, which is probably why we default to just, maybe throwing a pill at somebody. But it's crazy, man. I'm starting to read a lot about this like fighter's mentality and people who push themselves to extremes that you never thought possible, and things clear up. Things like people are able to do incredible things. And then you kind of start to question a lot of your paradigms. You're like, yeah, maybe I'm making too many excuses for myself. Maybe I'm making too many excuses for other people. Maybe you kind of just need to toughen up and get more disciplined. Yeah. And it's however, hard it is to say or hard it is to hear. I think there's tons of truth in that, man.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that you've, take Bruce as an example, someone who could get full off his meds. And you don't want to like promise the world to people. You don't want to be like, I can get you, but there's a lot to it, man. What you put in your body is, you are created by what you've eaten over the course of 35 years, right?
Right.
That's the mass that is in me is just the crap I put in my body.
Yeah.
So it's obviously going to have some sort of effect.
Like you said, there's so many examples of it. We had a kid come into our CrossFit gym, kind of a similar situation as yours, where he had injured his knees. Yeah. And he went to the doctor, and the doctors were like, well, your knees suck. You're never going to do this. You're never going to do this. You'll definitely never ski again, this and that. And he was just kind of like, well, I figured like I couldn't be any worse off. I might as well come work out.
Right.
And he's, after about a month, he's like, I feel great. He's like, the doctors told me I would never ski again. He's like, I just did a bunch of freaking moguls. Because I started squatting because I was like, my knees already suck. I might as well squat and like build up my strength. He's like, my knees feel great. And I was like, well, yeah, now you have muscles supporting your knees where you didn't before because your knees hurt. So you stopped working out and your muscles atrophied.
Right.
I'm like, now you build those muscles back up. All of a sudden your knees have muscles supporting them and you can do all these things. He was just like, this changed my life. There's so many examples like that where it's like, oh, my feet hurt or this and that hurt. And it's like, well, yeah, your joints hurt because you need to lose 40 pounds.
Right.
And all of a sudden you lose 40 pounds and they're like, oh, I feel great. My knee pain is gone, this and that. It's like, yeah, it's weird
crazy. Chicken and the egg thing. Because I think some people, I'm fall in this camp as well, is we wait for that to clear up before we can dedicate ourselves. Right. Like, I don't feel good enough to make a change in your life. It's like, well, you're not going to feel good until you make a change, right? Yeah. So it's this weird, and somehow I think a lot of it's just surrounding yourself with the right people that push you and inspire you, and then kind of get you into that, and you kind of start seeing the light, and you're like, oh, okay, and then you can kind of take it over. So that's my commitment. I'm going to start Operation Fathead is going to start here pretty soon, and
it's kind of definitely a mindset change. From going from I can't do these things to what can I do?
Right. Exactly.
If this is hurt, what can I still do? And like you said, a lot of it's diet. It's like, okay, if I'm on bed rest for 3 months because I had some surgery, I can at least eat good.
There's no excuse there.
I can have a clean diet and not tank out while I'm on bed rest, and then when I am back up, I'm better off.
Right.
It's so difficult to lose weight and keep it off, but it's like, well, wouldn't it just be easier to not gain weight?
Right.
And just don't gain weight in the first place.
Yeah, I know. So one thing I want to get you back on later and talk about is the kind of the cult of CrossFit.
Yeah.
Because I did a little bit when I was in Houston, but I know quite a few people that do it. I know a lot of people that are turned off by it.
Yeah.
And I think we were talking before the podcast about, how CrossFit allows people, because you see these people, I mean, you see these video compilations of these people who are doing like power cleans that should not be doing power cleans.
Oh yeah.
Or doing, these weird, crazy pull, whatever they're doing. You're like, that guy should not be doing that lift. And you can definitely see he doesn't know how to do it, or he or she. And so, everyone that's doing snatches and like they fall over and the baller traps them in the head, and they roll away. And I'm just like, so I think there's a lot of really good that's come from CrossFit, because I think it kind of took the gym industry by storm. Like it kind of put like Gold's Gym on notice. Like, you know what? We don't really need you. And you can't lock us into a $5,000 3-year contract, and we're not going to put up with that anymore. And so, but yeah, I'd be interested to have you back on for a longer conversation about that culture of CrossFit. What are the positives? What are the negatives? Because people are really passionate. It's like a religion. People are, some people just can't see anything wrong with it. Some people are like, have this religious zealotry towards CrossFit and other programs that are similar.
Yeah, now that I've kind of been detached for it for a few years, I have some good insight.
Yeah,
like
you've
you
been,
said,
you've been in and out of the cult.
I think there's a lot of good that's come from it, and it still is coming from it.
Yeah.
And even those kind of cultish aspects of it have pros and cons. And going along with the whole surrounding yourself with, kind of like-minded people that push you and different things. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of cons with it.
Yeah.
And,
I kind of want to talk through
and
those.
things that are bad and
get some controversial topics going on.
And now it's all about the garage gym movement.
Yep. It's moving it even further away from that. It's like bringing it straight to the house.
Yeah, and it's funny because that's kind of always been what I wanted.
Right.
Whenever I kind of envisioned opening a gym, it was like I just want like a dungeon.
Right.
Like I want it to be, dingy looking, but this and that. And then so when we sold our ownership in the gym, that's what I did. I built a garage.
Okay.
And I slowly kind of pieced it together, and I love it.
That's sweet.
Like my wife's always she's like, you're crazy because it's freezing out there. And, but I'm just like, it's awesome. I never have to.
Yeah, that's part of the environment though. Like something about like doing hard things in a hard environment. It's just like, yeah.
Yeah. And it's
awesome.
like, I love that I don't have to wait for any equipment.
Yeah.
Like there's nobody, I can do curls in my own squat rack and not, not have to, I don't have to fight for things. And every once in a while I'll pop over to the rec center or something. And I'm just like, I hate it here. I can't do a superset. I can't do anything. No, but I think it's kind of to each their own thing. Because my wife's the opposite. Like she loves
to go to the gym,
going to the rec center. She loves the energy there, like other people working out and different things. So yeah, I'd love to delve into the cult of
I'll get you back
the
on
CrossFit.
That. So where can people find you?
I'm on Instagram quite a bit, just Sean Stosich. Our company is called Strength by the Numbers. So we have an Instagram on there. It's just Strength by the Numbers. Our website is strengthbythenumbers.com. My wife, her Instagram handle, it's a long one. It's like IFBB Pro Elite Tiffany Stosich, but it's just Tiffany Stosich. So she does most of her stuff on there. We tend to do most of the marketing and advertising on our individual pages. But yeah,
sweet, man.
That's where we are. Facebook as well. So
I appreciate you coming on. It's awesome to catch up with you. Hopefully next time you chat, I'll be looking a little bit leaner.
Yeah, let's get you squared away.
All right, man. Sweet.
Okay.
Till the next time, brother. So there you have it. So Sean has been kind enough. He's going to work with me, actually. to help me through this little fitness transformation journey and kind of show me the ropes. So I will be talking about that quite a bit in future podcasts, kind of giving you quick updates. I'll probably post a bunch of stuff online as well, and maybe I'll sort of tack it onto the video portion of the podcast so you can see some of the results. But I'm really excited. So this is something that I haven't been able to sort of take by the horns for a very long time. So the time has come. The excuses are over. I really do need to get back in shape, and I'm excited to do it. And as I said before, a lot of it is just when you want to accomplish something in your life, you got to surround yourself with people who are doing that thing and who are successful in that thing. And it makes it, number one, easier because you have a support structure. But number two, you learn the ropes. You learn the secrets. You have people to help you keep you honest. And I want to do that. I want to surround myself with the type of people who sort of embody characteristics that I want to adopt in my life. So being fit is one of them. Next week, I'm probably going to do a special podcast about my book release. Probably very focused on my book coming up. It's been a heck of a ride trying to get this thing together. And so I'm going to talk to some more literary folks coming up here in the next few weeks with the book release. It's going to be a lot of fun. As I said, I can't wait for people to read it. So there you have it. Please, when the call is issued to all nerds, respond to that call. See you later.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Calling All Nerds. To find out more about Mike, his novels, blog posts, videos, and everything else interesting, go to mike-thayer.com.